I've probably said this story on the podcast before, but this man's the stupidest man I've ever met.
You're still part of the bourgeoisie, but like you get eaten last.
So, not to immediately derail our podcast with, you see, the problem is capitalism, which...
No, you like jazz.
I do like jazz.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan of, okay, I was about to... Okay, so...
How do you feel about houses?
I was about to say Billy Idol. No. I got to tell you this story real quick.
I'm a big fan of Billie Eilish.
No, Billy Idol is the problem. Nina has a coworker who says that Billy Idol is a punk musician. And all of this information comes, and I know you're familiar enough with Billy Idol to know that's
I know who Billy Idol is, of course.
That's not very accurate.
It's not accurate at all.
Now, if you look it up, he has done work with the band Generation X.
Whomst?
It's a punk band that is in the early era of punk.
Okay.
However, Billy Idol is not a punk artist. Billy Idol was in a punk band.
Yeah.
And they broke up within 3 years, and now there's a new lineup without him, blah, blah, blah. The band reformed, yada, 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 yada. But not for a long time. The band reformed for like 1 year. Okay? But if you look, Google will list him as a punk musician, even though the majority of his career was 80s rock,
Yeah, I see you.
So Nina has been getting in an argument with her coworker, just saying, no, dude, he's not a punk musician. He's a rock musician.
He's quite simply not. Yeah.
But a lot of this has come down, and I'm not trying to restart this conversation. Our culture conversation from a few weeks ago.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, no. But it's like Nina's trying to tell this guy it's like punk is a cultural movement and is incredibly political and purposeful about what it does. And a lot of 80s aesthetics have sort of melted together. Example, leather is a staple of the metal genre now.
Yeah.
But leather entered the metal genre because Rob Halford was in the gay leather scene and wore leather in shows, which people in the scene knew it was a fetish statement, like a fetish accent, all that stuff. Like that was his scene. But people
outside didn't.
Outside were like, hell yeah, look at him dressed head to toe in leather. That's so cool and normal and straight.
That's so cool. Honestly, a mood. I look at things and I go, damn, that's so cool and normal and straight.
So often. But yeah, the big conversation has been Billy Idol, not a punk musician. So you said you like jazz. I'm like, oh yeah, I love Billy Idol because that's the only musician I could think of. Meanwhile, I'm trying to say Fats Waller or, Angry Saxophone Man or Trumpet Man.
Any other, literally anything else. Honestly, very funny. No.
I like houses too, Dan. I like houses too.
I was going to talk about houses. No, I've been playing a lot of The Sims lately. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I would not, really? Never noticed.
Yeah. Actually, I was talking about, when I was playing last, I was mentioning that, it's currently my longest running series on Twitch. Like it's the thing I've been doing the longest. And I'm going to be really sad when it's finally over because we're kind of we're definitely in the latter half by this point. We're actually I would argue entering the final quarter. But it has made me realize that I understand consciously that obviously interior design is a very difficult thing that people do. Yada yada.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, I could be an interior designer because I designed the interior on my Sims house. But I could
design. Flip side though, I mean, have you seen the interior of your Sims house? Maybe there's not that much to it.
Well, I was gonna say but at the same time, I'm I could design the interior of my Sims house. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I know what I like. And
if you booted up The Sims and you were like, I'm going to make a house for me that I would enjoy in real life.
Exactly.
You could set it up. 100%.
And I would have it. It would be great. It does make me wish that I had been I don't know. I catch myself saying things like, oh, you got it. I'm getting nonstop interior design TikToks now.
I love that.
Hey, this is how you should arrange a room because or how you should put a rug in a space because there's specific rules to it that matter based on how you want the space to be utilized and what you want that rug to be and should things be on or off of it and what does it mean if it's only half on it big in the same way that you get a lot of fun psychology discussions out of a lot of design work any kind of design graphic design as well. You get a lot of oh, this color gives this, right? Mm-hmm. And I just damn, that would have been a fun thing to do. Like that's real. Like
Right.
the problem is that I wouldn't want to do it to somebody else. Like I would not. I think that I would be like, no, this is the best style. You should just do this, and they would be like, I do not like that. I was like, well, bye.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Right? It's like, all right, ignore me then. I
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
care.
Exactly. But it's gotten me to like really think about like my own stylings, like what I really like, and I found that what I like is like is, for lack of a better word, I don't know if there's a real word for it, but like modern Victorian almost, or modern Baroque, like very much like where you take if you took like a hyper modern like apartment building, right? You know, pure white, sharp edges, the 9 yards, and you
But
smash
you also added in so much unnecessary filigree.
so much, just unimaginable amount, just so much.
Okay, I'm gonna send you an image
Go
just
for
to
it. What
make
do you
sure
got?
that we are
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
same
please,
page.
please.
Stuff like that. And for the listeners, I got big wooden trim. I got big tall windows, and I got big
That is
marble checkered
exactly
floors.
it. That is
extravagant stuff, but very modern in how clean it is versus like all that wood trim would actually have like intricate gold leaf carvings if it were a true Baroque piece, you know, stuff like that.
Exactly. And like this idea of like, hey, you can be like super clean and modern and still have these kind of like this is like almost perfect. This is like the exact extravagance that I need in my life.
I think so. Not to immediately derail our podcast with, you see, the problem is capitalism, which we want to do, because frankly, we're correct.
Problem is always capitalism.
The problem with stuff like this is so much modern design keeps getting stripped down, and because like I mean the classic look right now is white, flat, and
black,
like
white, black,
empty.
And flat, and that's it.
No, I don't even see black. I see white,
really?
flat, empty.
I see a lot of black,
minimal,
like trim. Like I see a lot like in the linings of things. I see it.
Oh, see, I don't see that. I usually see shades of beige and white and light gray, and that it's so depressingly minimalistic. But it's like it's trying to sell the idea of minimal possessions and clean, minimal living, while simultaneously aggressively shitting on people who push for minimalism living. The current like design trends are trying to push for, what if you had nothing to fill your space? That's actually high fashion and style.
Correct.
And I hate shit like that because like pretty design is cool.
Yeah, dude.
It's good. I want to see more like busy wallpaper patterns, or like, okay, wallpaper's annoying to deal with. Okay, I want to see different paint styles. I want to be in a room that's walls and ceiling are black with red carpet and gold wood trim somewhere.
Yeah,
you know, I want that to be my
I'm so here for
room. I want to have something that has character and personality, because I'm so sick of how many houses just are nothing. My house right now has a lot of the landlord special of white latex paint over every piece of wood in the building.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't tell my landlord. The other day when I was sick, realized that the brass fixtures on the door to the office were peeling. So I took a screwdriver and I scraped off all the paint on this brass hinge.
Fuck yeah, you did.
And I really want to just do the whole door and everything, because this is, as far as I can tell, this is the only real wood door in the house.
Oh my god.
And I'd love this door to have, like, I want this to be nice. I want the room I spend my time in to look better. You know, but like, because every room is beige except for this one. Okay. Everyone knows what an accent wall is.
Of course.
However, this accent wall is, my landlord ran out of matching paint and was like, what if I did an accent wall?
No.
So the room is beige white, and the accent wall is a muted turquoise. But it's not the full wall, Dan. It's at an angle, and it's a big arched doorway. All right? It connects the living room to what could be the dining room space, or just a living room extension, you know? And, okay, picture a flat wall, put an arch dead center on it.
Yep.
And now, at an angle that does not connect to the middle of the arch, doesn't connect with the curve of the arch.
I need you to cease.
Doesn't connect to the bottom of the wall. I want you to do from about center up, that muted turquoise, coming down at an angle on the sides, but the one side, the angle isn't true because the thermostat is there. He didn't measure properly, so it hits the thermostat and then changes angles because the thermostat messed up his flow and he didn't do it right. And it's so depressing. I love like my landlord is a personal friend of mine.
Yes.
I like him a lot.
Of course.
Like I got a lot of things to say about like shit landlords. Shout out to my dude out in I don't remember if I ever just said the name of the place, so I won't. The place where I was cutting hair. That dude sucked. All right.
Yeah.
The man was a contractor, and all he wanted to do was raise the rent for my building, but the floor was like sagging, and it was a shitty building. And when I left, he's like, "This place is actually kind of trashed. I don't know if I can give you your full deposit back." And I'm like, "I didn't expect it or to get it back since you bought it in the middle of things and had no idea what it was like. So just keep it. Don't contact me." And I left. He contacted me, by the way, on Christmas Eve. It was Christmas Eve that this man messaged me.
Sorry, no security deposit for you.
Literally, like fucking pig. I hate that guy.
Was he just Scrooge? Was
May
he
as
like
well.
actually
For me,
just
he
Scrooge?
was. But my current landlord, to bring it back, friend of mine, like him a lot. He's a real do-it-yourself kind of guy and does not have the artistic eye he wants to have.
Mm-hmm.
So like, there's white and black tile on the floor of my kitchen.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's not in any kind of pattern that makes sense. It's clear he was looking to do a pattern that wasn't just checkerboard, but it's also clear that he didn't know what he was doing with that, because there's a pattern that makes sense, and then there's a mess. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, "Hey man, why'd you do it like that?" But I'm not gonna say that.
No, you're not gonna bully him.
You know? And
while staying in his own house.
Exactly. So I would love to repaint some of this house. I want to change a lot of this house. And to bring it all back, I'm a huge fan of rooms with black walls and ceilings. And even light carpet works. I love a dark room though, because you see people who are like, "Oh, don't do that." Always have a white ceiling because it makes the
room feel smaller or whatever.
Yeah, but like, frankly, it doesn't for me.
I simply do not care.
Like, I don't think that it makes the room feel smaller. I think it feels big in a different way. It feels cozy. You know how nice it is to be in a dark room that has like, even short ceilings, small ceilings feel bigger when the room is darker because they disappear in the shadow, especially if you don't try and light it big. You put a little lamp on a table and now you have like...
I was going to say with like warm, like very focused targeted light locations.
Yeah. It's a cozy room now. It's not a big room. It's a cozy room, and you set up comfortable chairs in there, and that's where you read. Maybe you even put the TV in there. Like it's a little room. You know, it doesn't need to be a big entertaining room. And I love stuff like that, and that's what I want to see more of. And instead, I'm in this place where every wall is the same color of beige, except for our kitchen, which has hideous wallpaper I love so much. I think I've sent you a picture. It's sunflowers and bees.
Funny though.
And other stuff, I think.
Other stuff you think?
I don't know. There's like plants and stuff on it. I don't remember. It's been a hot minute.
Sir. It's really funny though. I agree. I agree 100%. And like I don't know. I feel like it's hard. It's not hard. It is very much against the standard design to be like, "Oh, I want my room to feel like kind of on the smaller side." My almost my whole apartment is also white, actually, thinking about it. And it is also the same thing of like the shitty
it's modern design. You're in an apartment building. Of course it's going to be white, you know?
Yeah, but like even when we moved in here, one of the things we were talking about was like if we were going to stay originally we didn't think we were going to stay here this long, but if we were going to stay here for a long time, the plan was like we'll replace one of the walls with an accent wall. Like we did have like ideas that we could do to try and kind of like numb that blow.
Yeah.
And like on one hand, I still would love to. On the other hand, it would break my heart to paint it back before we leave, which was their only request.
And that's the thing,
they're like,
right?
We don't care if you paint the walls. We really don't care what you do with the walls at all. Just put it back the way you found it, essentially. Which I don't think is unfair. I think that is an extremely reasonable take. I don't think it's kind of stupid because I believe in New Jersey you have to repaint the walls when someone moves out. So
yeah,
why do you care? But whatever.
Right. Also, here's a bigger issue. No one strips paint when they repaint walls.
Mm-hmm.
And
They
that's what
just
you
keep adding it on top.
the landlord special really does shine through in moments like that. Like the layers of paint, which once again, to clarify, I don't think my landlord did that.
No.
Because this nasty white paint is not the style of anything else they've done with the house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's just what's painted over everything. And I think that's who they bought it from a few years ago.
Makes sense. And yet.
But like...
And yet here we are.
I have every now and then, I've thought, I wonder if this man would knock off some of my rent if I worked on making elements of the house better.
You could ask. Honestly, when I was in Philly, I got some taken off of my rent because I got Verizon installed instead of like the other one that we had.
Oh, so he now had options at the place and he's like, hey, thanks for that. Here's a discount.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I do like that.
No, honestly, my last landlord was very chill. Kind of a dick to talk to in person, but like
Yeah.
very, very on top of, hey, there's a problem with the apartment. Okay, I'll be over like later this afternoon.
Kind of funny.
honestly liked him a lot. Like as far as landlords go, he was okay. And he also only owned like 2 properties, which I think is like when you can, like, I don't know, if you only own 2 properties, you're a much more okay landlord than like,
yeah. There's the levels of
there's a
fuck
sliding
you
scale.
landlord are like,
Yeah.
you see people and they're like, I own 100 properties. It's like, you are why I can't buy a house.
Correct.
And then there's people who are like, I own 20 properties. And it's like, you are also the reason I can't buy a house. Then you have like my landlord who has my house and his house. And he's like, this is my investment property. And I'm like, you know what? I still philosophically disagree with you, but also at least you only own 2 houses. And the rent is cheap, you know?
Yeah.
He's still making his money off of us.
And I think that's
between the up and down stairs, but like,
that's like,
he's not hosing me, and I really appreciate that.
and I think that's part of the like, the part that I feel like people are like, oh, why would you say this? We need landlords. No, I don't give a shit if I owned a house right now, I would absolutely rent it out and still live in this apartment because it would be a better long-term investment than living in that house right now. Like right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, if you own more than I think like 3 is the limit, and one of them you have to live in. Like, because you get the house you live in. I'll even accept if you have a vacation home. I know plenty of people who have a vacation home that like it just happened to work out that way. Like, oh, my grandmother died and I just kept her house as a vacation spot. Like, that's fine. Whatever. You're still part of the bourgeoisie, but like you get eaten last. And then one that's an investment property. Like, that is fine. I would love to have an investment property. It would make my life so much easier. And also, like you said, that's the problem is that when it's...
Yeah, I would not like an investment property. Like, even though I want the income from an investment property, right?
Of course.
I think that would be fantastic to have, like, oh yeah, I'm just living my life and I also collect $800 a month. Or more, depending.
Relatively low.
And all I need to do is, like, my landlord pays the water bill.
And
because it was too inconvenient.
Presumably.
Well, I mean, like, depends on what you mean by replaces shit. If you mean, hey, landlord, my kitchen sink doesn't drain quickly, and then he comes over and just wrestles with it for, like, 3 days and says, all right, here, it should be better now, and it's not, then, damn, dude, you're right, he sure does. Yeah. He sure does replace shit. But if you mean light bulbs and stuff, nah, he doesn't do that.
No.
He does replace the batteries in the smoke detector, though, which I think is good because he legal. Okay, so here's a new thing that the city is doing for us. This is very new within the last few years, actually.
Okay.
There's city rental inspectors now.
Hell yeah, dude.
Which you may be thinking, and by I don't mean you, I mean like listeners.
You, the audience.
From not not where I live, may be thinking, what do you mean you didn't have city inspectors for rental properties?
Dude, there's no way you had city inspectors. There was no world.
Lawless wasteland. We only within the last, I think, 4 years really started rolling with city inspectors.
That's so fucked.
And now there's like rules about it. There's an acquaintance of mine was really mad about it. He's like, they're just trying to pick things apart that I do, and they're trying to find me for no reason. It's like, dude,
just do it right then.
You're a slumlord.
Yeah, just simply do better.
You might not be a slummy slumlord, but like you got a bunch of bad properties, and there's just stuff that you need to work on. You know,
you know. I mean, you know my folks. You know that they own that like little apartment thing.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of My mom called herself a slumlord back in the day, and like
I can't imagine. So we were actually talking about this, unrelated to your mom, but to like other public figures. I cannot imagine being a very well recognized public figure and not caring about my legacy. And I can't. Well, I mean, like to tie that to this,
Yeah.
I can't imagine knowing that I'm sitting here saying, "Yeah, I'm a slumlord." I can't imagine living like that with good conscience. Can you, like? Dude,
I think it was partially in jest, to be clear.
Oh, sure. Of course, frankly,
but
I'd be surprised if it wasn't. But also, like, this is one of those, like, not to be a joke-hating leftist.
But also, like, fuck
but
jokes
also,
and
like,
fuck the
hey,
left,
dude,
clearly.
you want to think about what you're saying real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm a slumlord. Isn't that so cute and quirky?
You know what?
Nah, man.
It is. My mom, fun fact, quirked up white boy.
Shout out to Dan's mom, the resident quirked up white boy of Off the Air. Yeah, how's that feel, Dan?
No, it doesn't feel good. I don't like it. Go back. Undo.
Quirked up white boy with a little bit of swag, busting it down slumlord style.
I need an adult. But fuck, sorry. But no, I agree. I think that like to an extent I agree. I think there is without going into like what we're talking about, I think there's a equal parts. I obviously want to be like, I want to make the world a better place, right? However, asterisk, if in doing so, like there are people who don't like me for whatever I'm doing, kind of fuck the haters, I'll be dead. Like, if I know that I have actually, for real, made the world a better place, I don't really care that much about my legacy. Like, I don't care if people know that I made the world a better place. I know I did. And that's what matters to me. The person we're talking about did not do that. Like, I want to be clear. I want to be totally clear. That is not what's going on in this specific instance. However,
yeah.
I think that for me, it's a lot more about, like, did you actually, like, make positive change in people's lives? More than, like, are you remembered for that? And I don't think that that's necessarily,
And well, I think honestly that's what I'm talking about with legacy. I don't necessarily need people to remember that I did good things, but I would like to have done good things that had an impact of some sort. I'm dead. I don't need to be connected to it.
Exactly.
But also, how are you going to live your life being like, and we've talked about this, the person who said this,
garbage,
fucking trash
monster.
And I wish very many bad things on them. But also, Dan was saying the idea of fuck the haters, I'll be dead, bit of a power move, which, like, you know what? I don't disagree.
It's kind of based.
It's a bit of a power move.
It's kind of based. I don't like that it's based coming from this person, but it is a little based.
But I sit here and I'm like, how are you going to be a person that your entire personality is being public?
Yeah.
You are a public figure happily saying, I don't care how many of you hate me. Every one of the haters signed my royalty checks from here until 3 generations after I die. Could not spend all this money if I tried, so I actually don't care what other people think because I'm untouchable. How actually evil do you need to be to whip that out and rub it in people's faces?
Oh, you're a monster. You're objectively a trash people at that point. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are a garbage monster. And, out back and taken out with the rest of the trash.
100%. It's like, I just really desperately, it's such a great example of how money changes who people can be.
Oh, 100%.
If you get that kind of money and you stop being someone who, like, even pretends to stand up for other people and turns it into honestly, I thought about it. I don't really care anymore.
Go fuck
fuck you.
Kind of. Go fuck yourself. I don't know how to tell you this, but don't give a shit. Fuck like I said, on some level, fuck the haters, I'll be dead. Mad respect. I love that.
I get it.
On the other hand, but like, if they're hating you for being a shitty person, stop. Simply do not be shitty.
There's layers of haters. If your haters are people who are like, what are you doing spending all your money on the arts when you could be curing cancer? It's like, dude, shut up. We need both.
Yeah, things can
Lots
be
of
two
people are
things.
funding cancer stuff. It's also important to fund the arts.
Yeah.
But if your haters are stop
Hey.
saying human rights aren't human rights, please. You can't say fuck the haters.
Exactly.
Your haters are right.
I can't
I
believe
don't
the
care
haters
if they're
were right
being
on.
rude about it. Your base stance is incredibly rude to their existence. It's not the same.
Exactly, and that's I think is the key distinction that I would like to make between like
J.K. Rowling, for example,
Yeah,
hypothetically,
exactly.
definitely
Hypothetically.
not the person we've been talking about the whole time, trying to dance around the name. Hypothetically, J.K. Rowling,
Yeah.
and like, I literally can't think of anyone who's actually like a massive rich public figure who I have good feelings about right now. So, Mark Cuban, I guess.
Sure, why not?
He's doing that medicine thing,
Oh yeah, he is actually. He's doing
And that's actually
he's
really
doing
neat.
really cool medicine stuff. Like
which like if I'm just so worried that in like 3 years that's gonna come out, it's gonna be like some insanely evil, nefarious thing.
oh yeah, we've been
That was like, and then I gave people free or inexpensive access to life-saving drugs for, I cannot even conceptualize what the bad reason would be, but I'm so worried it exists.
I get that. I 100% understand, and I there is a little bit of that, and I think that's the problem, right? Is that like on some like I truly do believe, right? Just because like, especially with like actors and writers, right? Just because you have money doesn't necessarily make you a bad person in those instances, right? I don't think you like, unlike if you like own a corporation. If you own a corporation, you're probably a bad person. Sorry, like get wrecked. But I think that like if you're providing a service and you happen to be really good at it and happen to make a shitload of dough at it, that's awesome. Good for you. Actually,
I don't have issues with people who have money. I have issues with people who have fuck you money.
well, the two that I was actually going to throw out there as far as like incredibly wealthy, still out here trying to do good things, kind of memes at this point, but Keanu and John Cena both are like very well known for their philanthropy and like being good people and also still having money to do stuff.
We were actually talking about Yo-Yo Ma the other night.
Perfect.
Who is also an amazing example of, he was on Arthur, firstly.
Rad.
So
Fuck
you
yeah.
already know he's well, you know what? Matt Damon was on Arthur, and I'm like kind of neutral on him.
Fair.
But, you know, like, he's an incredibly humble person who understands how privileged he is to be in the position he is.
Yeah.
And takes time. A friend of mine, her grandson, got at least a minimum of 30 uninterrupted minutes one-on-one with Yo-Yo Ma, getting direct personal instruction
That's
and
fucking
conversation,
awesome.
and then he signed his cello case.
That's fucking awesome, actually.
Like, that man is so down to earth, but for every Yo-Yo Ma,
There's 100.
there are so many
like literally
weird
anyone else.
violin players who are they have the biggest god complex you've ever seen in your life. And it's like, dude, do you realize how goofy your job is when it comes down to it? Your job is to play the violin. That's a great job. Don't get me wrong.
I'm glad that you got that job.
Frankly,
Good for you.
am so jealous that your job is to make millions of dollars playing like one concerto a month and then practicing a lot, because you can't ignore that. These are the kind of people that do, quite honestly, work for what they do.
Yeah. No,
But
nobody at that stage doesn't like, even if you're like, oh man, like literally name an artist that's out there that people are like, oh, but they do all like autotune and they're bad. Like, dude, they still put the work in.
Like T-Pain is a great example of like autotune and bad, because he's not. The man can sing so well, and there's like, he did an entire like workshop kind of conversation talking about how to properly utilize autotune, and he's like, for what I do and the style of autotune I use, you have to sing slightly wrong to make sure the autotune kicks the note properly and pulls it in the direction I want and makes it sound the way I have it.
Yeah, he uses it's an instrument for him. It is quite literally part of his, like,
and that's so interesting, but people write him off because he's using autotune. And it's like, this man he revolutionized autotune, firstly. Like, just tightening up autotune. Yeah, like tightening up the autotune, so it's like, oh yeah, you know, we're trying to like literally just sitting here trying to be like, yeah, you know, we're trying to just make it like flow. Okay, that's fine. Everyone does that. Literally every professional artist. And if you're thinking of an artist that you think doesn't, no, they did too.
They do. Yeah, 100%.
Since the invention of autotune, every single professional recording artist has had a little bit of touch up on their studio albums.
Because, like, and
even some of their live stuff.
I don't even work with like autotune specifically, but the idea that you wouldn't is insane. Like there's actually no reason not to.
I don't use it. And the reason is, firstly, I'm screaming. Autotune doesn't do a lot for that. Secondly,
sure,
I just don't know how to use it. If I knew how to use it, I'd be using it for any of our stuff that's not screaming.
Is it quite simply because you don't have the knowledge, which is, again, like, not a bad thing. It's just
the only bands that aren't using autotune are home recorded demos.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone professionally recorded is touched up, and it's
correct.
But like, people get this like superiority complex about like blah 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 this that the other thing, which is what makes jackass violin players or whatever other classical musician that I'm straw manning over here. They worked for that. They can't use tricks like that. They like exist in where they are, and it makes them look down on other people who like aren't where they're at. It's all just to bring it back. It's from this weird little detour. It's about being humble. Yeah. And acknowledging who you are. That's why, if you're a millionaire, even a mega millionaire, and you're not a dick about it, and you do things like Keanu and Cena, okay,
yeah,
more power to you.
There's a lot of, you can gain a lot of goodwill simply by not being an asshole.
And who this feeling does not extend to?
J.K. Rowling,
Mr. Beast.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay, go off.
Fuck Mr.
Okay, no, I'm so curious. Go off.
Much do not like this man. There's everything. Okay, so the man does good things for people.
Yes, correct.
But everything he does is sponsored by a company, and he's like, today, guys, Walmart sponsored me to give away this much money. So in his video, it's just an advertisement for Walmart where he gives out money.
Yeah.
But the ad revenue he makes off of that is like just massively increases his wealth. And it's like, okay, cool. The people around him are benefiting from this. But everything he does, like his most recent thing where he's like, I want to cure 1,000 people's blindness. Mm-hmm. What a cool like idea. But as soon as he turns it into this like pog face, Wojak pointing, look, I cured people's blindness thumbnail on YouTube, I have so much hate toward that attitude of things. It's like, why are you doing it like this? Why are you doing an objective good in the world, but making it into an advertisement opportunity? A lot of people were bringing up Cuba, mm-hmm. because Castro was like, hey, I have this medical stuff going on. Let's cure blindness. And there's a massively successful eye clinic down there that has cured a lot of people from their blindness. Mm-hmm. Because there's stages of blindness, kind of like how there's stages of deafness.
Yeah.
It's not a light switch.
Yeah. I think Mr. Beast specifically deals with cataracts, if I'm not mistaken. The one that he did.
That's what, like, obviously, like, it's not easy to cure cataract issues. Mm-hmm. But like, of all the blindness, cataracts are the easiest ones to address. So you just have to zap them with a little laser.
So I will.
A normal person can't do that.
I will actually counterpoint, if I may.
Uh-huh. Well,
because I was reading up on this around the time he did the cataract thing. Because I was like, damn, it's kind of insane. Because I was in the same boat. I was like, that's insane that he's using. In a way, he's kind of exploiting these people for profit, right? However,
I wouldn't even say in a way. I would say very clearly he definitely is.
However, there is a ton of from people that have worked with him, from people who've done stuff with him over the years. And I apologize, I don't have all of it in front of me right now.
No, that's fine.
But he has.
Neither do I. So we're flying off the seat of our pants as usual.
He has so off the top of my head, he has not off the top of my head, I'm looking at his channel. He has 5 channels. He has gaming, which I know only exists to that only exists to fund other things. Reacts, which also only exists to fund other things. He has 1 and 2, and then he has philanthropy. Mm. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, just again, maybe the things I was reading was wrong. A unimaginably large amount of his money goes back into not into Mr. Beast 1 and 2, but into his philanthropy.
Oh, without a doubt. It's the thing that gets him the most goodwill. It's the thing that gets him the most recognition and stuff.
Sure. But I don't actually think he has that much money.
No, he does.
Pocketed.
No. Have you seen the houses that he lives in? That kind of stuff.
If you live in a $2 million house and you give away $100 million a year, are you a bad person?
If you're exploiting other people to do it, I'm going to say that you're still on thin ice for me.
I think that's not unfair.
'Cause, like-
I would argue, like, in my mind, if I am, to me, again, personal take, and this is not based on anything I have in front of me, so I can't back all of this, unfortunately. But if you are, like, I also hate Mr. Beast, but I hate him stylistically, not so much the work he does. But if you are going, okay, a charity is giving away 90% of its profits and taking 10% to go back to the people who are running it, both as a paycheck and for like internal, like whatever, like paperwork, you know, the stuff that a charity needs to keep running, right? You look at something like Red Cross and they like do like 90% back inside and only 10% going out. If you're doing even 70% of the money you make off of anything is going back out into charitable works, I can't be that mad at it. Could it be more? Sure. Could you be doing it?
No, I'm not even asking to be more.
But I don't think you could. I don't think you could fund. You couldn't fund. Like, I'm looking at, like, just, I'm on his philanthropy channel right now. He has like a thing that's like rebuilding homes for tornado survivors, right? And it's like, damn, I can't believe he's utilizing a tragedy for someone else to make himself money. But that money, as like, could have for like, or realistically did go directly into some other project like the blind and curing, right? Like, that still cost money to do. He did like, yes, people sponsored it, but it didn't solely come from sponsors. And again, I am not sitting here like, oh, he's a good person. It's just everything I've seen and everything I know of him is that he's like an insane, like, the worst thing you can say about him is that he works his people too hard. From what I've seen is that he does. He expects, like, because he works like 16, 18-hour days and expects everyone else to do the same, which is fucked up. Don't do that.
I don't like the Mr. Beast content machine. Like, as like his React stuff. Why? It bugs me when people make entire like personality and like revenue streams out of looking at things and just saying, "Whoa, look at that," to things they did not make and things they did not do.
I don't think there's anything that's been around since like.
It has.
That's what critics are.
No, but that's not what critics are. Critics sit there and they talk about it without it playing the thing. You are watching
reviews. That's been around since like Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Like, that's the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
And yet
I have beef with that style of content creation. When that is your only thing, and that, like, I do not care for
channel,
especially like, because if you're a person that like you do this thing and you watch other people do that thing and it's like, hey, I really like the way they did that, and you're using that as a way to like teach people about things, that's one thing. But if you're sitting there going, whoa, oh man, look at that, that's crazy.
If I may, it sounds like you're much in the same boat I am, which is a stylistic disagreement, not necessarily I hate him because, like, for what he does. It's just I really don't like his style of content at all.
I also do hate his style, and there's definitely like a part of who he is and what he does that it's like, this is for children.
Oh,
and maybe a good portion of my anger and annoyance is that I, a grown adult, am forced to pay attention to this man who makes content for actual diaper-wearing children that have access to iPads.
And makes more money than either of us will ever see in our entire lives.
The man is as old as I am.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
that doesn't feel good.
Or he might even be younger than me. And he makes, like, millions of dollars a year. Like, doesn't he make, like, $1 million a month type of thing? Where it's like, this man has so much revenue turnover of like stuff, like just constantly churning out things, just mindless garbage content. And honestly, maybe that's one of my bigger issues with him. If he only put out a thing every now and then where it's like, hey, I managed to finagle some sponsorship money, so we used it to cure people from being blind. And that was like something that he did unrelated to other things, and like he actually created otherwise. But like the quality of his base content is bad, the quality of his side content is bad, and he just happens to do some good things. I think that's probably where I land and why I don't like him as much as I do.
No, I think that's extreme. And I think that is such a, like, to me, that's a much better take than I don't personally, I don't have a problem with you saying, hey, I'm going to cure your blindness. I would like you to be in this video so that I can continue to do cool things later on, right? Like, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. And I think there is a certain amount of exploitation that comes from that, absolutely. I think there is a much greater value add of good back into the world that comes from that. Like, is it still weird and kind of a weird, like, there's a weird, like, power dynamic that I don't particularly like? Abso-fucking-lutely. Objectively, though, he is, it's not like he's asking them to fucking dance for his amusement, right? Like, it's there's a layer of, hey, I just need you to say, oh, yes, you did the thing. Or I did the thing, whatever. But I 100% agree that, like, the quality of his content, especially his side content, I can't speak to his main content because I haven't seen anywhere near enough of it to, like, really dive in on it. Not lately, anyway. But, like, his side content is lowest common denominator. Like, it's a React channel. It's a fucking React and gaming React channel. And I don't understand.
Also, that's another thing I actually very strongly dislike is gaming React channels specifically, because other stuff, people make content to be, like, consumed and shown. Gaming stuff, like, it's much like other things where you in real life have to put in effort. A lot of the stuff gaming React people do is, like, it's like trick stuff. It's like, oh, look what I did. And when someone with the audience size of a Mr. Beast comes in and reacts, now the person that made the video doesn't actually get any money off of this, like, thing that they did.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest issue with React
100%.
type channels. But I don't know, I hate the man because he's lazy content and people put him on a pedestal because he does good things. And it's like, yeah, he does good things, but look at what he's lazy. He doesn't do anything.
He's not lazy. He's not. Man is actually working.
That's the
like 16-hour
problem.
days.
No, but that's the problem is he does a lot of work to make lazy content.
That I'll agree with.
Filling my entire swimming pool with Orbeez. Shut the fuck up, man.
I don't know, man. I get to an extent. I do think there's a little bit of being a hater. I think you might just be a little bit of a hater. And I think that's fine.
Yeah, I do hate him, man. I'm not pretending I don't hate him.
100%. Yes, but a hater in as much as, like, I don't.
Yeah, I'm also being a hater in that sense.
I don't think he deserves.
I think the man sucks.
I also think he sucks.
I think he deserves so much more than I give
I don't
him.
think he deserves.
I think he deserves about 75% of the animosity he gets on Twitter. I don't think he deserves all of it, but I think he deserves about 75% of what's there.
I think most of that is. I think that to an extent, absolutely, there are parts of his attitude, his or I assume his attitude, but, like, his style of content that absolutely should be criticized because it is, like you said, like, especially with the React stuff, super lazy. But, like, man did still go down and rebuild fucking homes after tragedies. He's still out there, like, feeding.
You know who else rebuilds homes after tragedies?
What's up?
President Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, and Jimmy Carter should also get praise for it.
But that's the thing is, you know who's not making a video saying, what's up everyone, today we're gonna go use our YouTube subscription money to rebuild homes in Louisiana after it was hit by a hurricane.
Question.
Yeah.
Could Jimmy Carter have rebuilt more homes if he made a YouTube video about it?
It's possible. It's literally, for me, this is well, I mean, you know, if you sold your soul to the devil, you could help a lot more people. It's like, yeah, but, like, if you go down a path where your entire brand is built on, and I feel we are very well into this conversation for me to say I very much do understand that some of this is a hot take and some of it's a reactionary take and something I understand.
No, but it's content. We are reviewing we're a React channel to Mr. Beast now.
Pogface, soy point. But for me, personally, and how my morals are, I would rather do less good in the world, but have it be an authentic good, than to have done more good in the world because I utilized things that I consider to be morally wrong. I think is kind of where I land on that, which is, I don't know that I'm explaining it the way I want to.
That makes sense to me. And I think that the line is going to be different for a lot of people. Like,
oh yeah, without a doubt.
For me, dude, I would absolutely, especially knowing that it does no harm to the people viewing, right? Like objectively, it doesn't hurt kids. Like watching this kind of content where like people are going out and people's lives are getting better. Like that is, as far as kids content on YouTube, far from the worst that it could be, and is relatively trying to spread, at least trying to spread a positive message. Even if again, the exploitation of the people in it is another conversation, right? But if I have to exploit the views of children in order to make these wildly like, you know, life-changing, maybe not world-changing, but for not small part of like people, it is active. Like curing somebody's cataracts is changing their life. Like it is.
Yeah. And that is a great thing. And that's,
it's a good, I understand that there's a reactionary. I agree on
because there's
the reactionary,
you know, the orphan crushing machine thing.
Yes, I do actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is frustrating to me that in my fight against the exploitative, gross content that I see Mr. Beast as, it is annoying that I definitely land on the orphan crushing machine is an industry staple. Like, but that's how it could be seen. But that's not what I mean.
No,
because what I mean is that, like, why does Mr. Beast have to be this like millionaire philanthropist who's curing blindness? Why don't we have a system set up to do that already? Because it's very possible. It happens. Other countries do it. So why in America does it need? That's probably real. Once again, at the another root element of my big issue is, why do I need a millionaire to take like all of this goodwill pointed at him and be like, wow, look at that great guy. Look how well he's doing. When this should not be a special event thing. This should just be a thing that we can do for people, because
this should be just taxes.
Your life can be improved by helping you past, because like a treatable disability.
Yeah. No, and that is.
And if you don't want that, then that's fine. Like, because I know that there's like people who might not want to have that because they're happy with how their life is. They're happy with the way things are. But like, I hate so much
that he has to
he has to be the one to do it.
He has to exist. Agreed.
And that he exists, and that him existing and doing the most base level decent human thing
is getting so much
he's
praise.
Lauded as this. He's like a saint. But there are people with more money who do less good in the world who are lauded on the same level.
Yeah. No, agreed.
And I just,
to that exact point, I was pulling up some articles while we were chatting, because I'm like, oh, I want to make sure that I'm at least saying as much factual information as I can. And I was finding some articles that were talking about how, like, oh, in 2020 he made $25 million on YouTube, but then like the same year he also gave away like $25 million or something like that. And then at the very bottom of the article it goes, do you want to see more millionaires who are doing good things with their money? See what Bezos and Elon Musk are doing. And I'm like, no. No, I agree, and that is the problem. As
soon as you start praising someone like him, like Mr. Beast, who is doing like decent things, suddenly it's every person with money who has done one nice thing. Musk hasn't done a decent thing ever. The man is like, I'm fixing the traffic problem by putting 2 one-way tunnels in LA, and it's like, are you so stupid? They drive slow. It's everything. People trying to reinvent trains constantly, but also having the convenience of a car because they don't want to give up cars. And it's like, did you know that if you had better trains and buses, I've talked about this before, and this is, okay. Let's wrap the Mr. Beast thing.
I love that we started this episode. We were like, we're going to talk about houses, and you were like, not to derail it to talk about capitalism, but the problem is capitalism, and now look where we are.
Okay, so do you have anything else on the Mr. Beast front? Because I have something RE trains that I'd like to bring up.
Trains. Yeah, let's talk about trains.
Well, it's actually about buses.
Okay.
I have a guy I know, and I've probably said this story on the podcast before, but this man's the stupidest man I've ever met. All right? And shout out to Carly listening to the podcast. Hey, Carly, how you doing? This is a mutual acquaintance of both of ours. If I called him a friend, I didn't mean to say that. He's a piece of shit. This guy is your textbook libertarian. Like, cannot stress enough, this is a textbook libertarian.
Yeah.
And this one day, he and I are talking in, I think it was the build up to the 2016 election.
Okay.
And also, he went from being a textbook libertarian sincere to a textbook libertarian, oh, you're actually just a right-wing fascist.
Yes,
libertarian, you know, that fine line that every
the pipeline,
the
yes.
modern libertarian likes to dance on. Anyway, this man told me, you know, did you know the city bus system loses money every year?
Yeah, dude.
It's a bad system, actually. It's you know, it's not a worthwhile company and investment. They should scrap that and bring in Uber more, and people should just Uber everywhere. Give Uber like an incentive to be here in a bigger presence. And I'm like, at that time, I was working at Chick-fil-A. I had 2 coworkers who rode the bus to work, and I was already of the opinion that the buses had to extend their hours because every now and then I gave them a ride home, because when we closed, where we worked, the buses shut down at 10 p.m. and we were there until almost 11. There was no other bus option. You know, some public transit system, if it can't get the public where they need to be, you know? And this guy, let's call it, for the sake of the story, I need to have a name to call this man. Can you just pick a name for me?
Jimothy.
So Jimothy is like, we need to shut down the city bus system and replace it with more Uber. And I'm like, well, Uber's really expensive. And he's like, if people need to get around, then they'll pay where they need to be. And I'm like, but some people can only afford the bus. Because, I mean, at the time, our bus had a monthly pass, as much as you need to ride the bus for like $20 a month, something like that. Like, actually quite inexpensive, you know?
Most buses do. It's great.
Yeah. And this guy's like, he would not understand that the bus is a service. It is not a business. Because him saying that is the same as him saying
the post office,
the library loses money every year. Well, that's the issue, is people did unironically say the post office was losing money.
Yeah, I know.
That was a huge thing. And the post office is like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're the post office. It's a national service. You're not supposed to make money off of the city bus. The fact that it makes back any money is just a great thing. But the city bus makes money for the city in the sense that it gets people in the city to another part of the city to work a job, to pay city taxes and spend their money in the city. That's how the city bus makes the city money.
Yeah, correct.
It is a service to the people of the city, and those people use that bus or train system or any other public transit setup to get around and do things efficiently and not clog the streets, so that you can be more efficient in shipping other things that you have to ship by truck instead of train and things like that. There's more road space for you to walk around and be safe. Safer people are happier people, are more willing for you to do things in the city that cost them money, because they're like, well, I love this city because there's so many amenities, like a good, healthy public transit system, that I don't mind paying an extra 3% on my taxes, because my city is a good place to be because of what they give back to me. Who was it that said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country? Was that JFK or was that Reagan?
I think it was JFK. I can't remember.
JFK was dumb as hell. I need to know what the country's doing for me so that I know what's worth it for me to do for my country. Because this is an equal exchange. I'll happily do things that don't, for the country, that don't benefit me if they're benefiting someone else. I will very happily pay extra taxes, knowing that, like, yeah, if we had universal insurance and health coverage in America, I'd happily pay more insurance. I don't mind that. I would have insurance now. But more importantly, so would other people. I would happily do that to not have to worry about that. I don't mind that because I care about other people who exist. But then to have someone sit here and say, well, you know, the city bus system actually operates at a loss every year. So because of that, we should eliminate the city bus system and force people who are in a poverty condition to pay exorbitant Uber and taxi fees.
Yeah. I've talked about this actually not quite a bit, but it comes up maybe once a month, twice a month. Is that, like, essentially now during tax season, is the simple thought that I love the idea of taxes. Taxes are a good thing. I would pay half my fucking income in taxes if it actually worked, right? Like, if it actually felt like my income was actually doing anything. Like, oh, hey, if I could pay more taxes and just know for a fact that, oh, I have a competent road, public utilities, you know, public transit, if I knew that my healthcare was taken care of, like all these
Well,
things.
that's the thing. If you paid half of your income in taxes, but you had free public transit and free health insurance, you've already covered like subsidized housing, so you're not paying $8,000 a month to live in New York City, for example.
Yeah, no,
you know, like if you had those guarantees that your taxes were covering that, you already have more than made your money back.
Yeah,
in just the benefits that you reap from that. And yeah, it's I can already hear, perhaps it's my father saying that it's comparable to when a business gives you free snacks in the break room so that you stay there more and you work harder for them. But also like, if I'm helping other people that can't help themselves, I legitimately don't mind. And I hate that just having that opinion and that stance puts me onto some weird position of, oh, so you think you're better than me, the operator of the orphan crushing machine? It's like, well, frankly, yes, I do.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's. I think the problem that people have with taxes, genuinely, and I would put this in literally everyone, and I actually would argue this is probably the problem the rich have with taxes, is that it doesn't seem like it affects them. They don't see or feel the effects for themselves.
I don't think that's the issue rich people have with taxes.
It doesn't give them anything.
Taxes give them nothing. They feel that they only lose money.
Correct, right? In the same way that on the opposite end, if you are like at the very bottom of the like social like finances, you are getting way more out of your taxes than you're giving, right?
Yeah.
If it was actively, and I think that's the thing, is that people don't feel like it's actually doing anything. I pay taxes. My roads are shit. Why do I pay taxes, right?
Yeah.
And the answer is obviously that you pay taxes so that other roads can get fixed, and eventually it'll cycle back around to yourself. But it's a question of, okay, why don't the rich pay taxes so that we can all use roads? And the answer is because they don't fucking use them, right? Like they don't. Yeah. They just don't. Like, they don't have to use the service, so why do they care about it? Which, while I don't agree with, at least I understand consciously, right?
Yeah,
I
get the concept. I get the base thought about it, where it's like, oh, well, I understand not, but like, you're not losing
just be a decent
anything.
Person. Just be a decent person, though. Like, simply do it anyway.
If you're out here doing this, you're not losing anything in your life to help other people be better. You're just less rich, but you're still rich. Mm-hmm. You're still so rich. You're just a little less rich, and it's not even enough less rich to make a measurable impact in your own life.
Yep. We live in a society. Things are constantly happening.
I didn't want this to be what this podcast was. I wanted to talk about real estate design and be like, damn, these houses on Zillow are ugly.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like, damn, all I want in my life is to have a house with a garage.
Yeah, dude.
My goals are so rock bottom. And then it just keeps coming around to people who are like, actually, if you can't afford to pay your yearly premium to breathe clean oxygen, frankly, you should die.
Yeah, I mean
that's an exaggeration.
That's not it. It's not, but at the same time, it's exaggeration. Not, yeah, it's also like it's one of those things where like it's not that insane. We pay for water.
In the UK, you have to pay a television license to watch TV.
It's insane. I mean,
what the hell is that?
In the US, you also do. You pay for cable.
You pay for cable. You don't pay for public access network.
That's fair.
You don't pay for like regular stuff.
That's fair.
Like you don't need just a pair of like wire coat hangers to pick things up anymore. You know, they moved it digital, but like it's not that hard. Now you just need the digital version.
I agree with you. Again, we live in a society. It's really upsetting. It is unfortunately also the problem with capitalism in the modern day, right? It's this idea that like it's me and mine and everyone else can go fuck themselves essentially.
Yeah. My fucking heart rate's up, man. I'm so annoyed.
I know.
I've been yelling for the last 20 minutes.
Listen, we are on the same page about a lot of this. You know what? That reminds me.
And I cannot stress the word slight enough, divergent point is how much I hate Mr. Beast versus how much you kind of dislike Mr. Beast.
Exactly. How much I'm like, he's probably not the first one I'd eat. Like, that's it. That's as far as I got.
As you were saying.
I don't remember what I was. Oh, one of my friends fucking gave me the biggest roast of all time. That because one of our California friends, or not moved out of California now, but
Hmm.
pretty far left of center friends, was like, of my like regular friend group, you like capitalism the most, and I'm like, damn, that's rough.
I
That's
mean,
pretty.
I don't mean to
I,
be rude to you, but you
no, it's
definitely
not
do.
wrong. No, it's not wrong. It's just it was such an unexpected.
Out of left field punch in the gut where it's like casually playing video games. By the way, Dan, you like capitalism a lot. More than anyone else I know, actually.
Exactly.
Back to business.
Damn.
You're the only capitalist I associate with. Back to business.
Which I'm just, you know what? I could look at that as being rude. I could also look at it as, damn, maybe I'm an okay capitalist. That BRB changing my name on the Discord to the okayest capitalist.
So true.
I don't know. It's really fun, like kind of on that same point, and I'm sure you've gone through a lot of this, and I obviously, I mean, it's my opinions and ideologies are an ever growing, ever evolving thing, because that's what it means to be a rational human being that grows and evolves their opinions over time. But it's been really interesting over the last maybe 6-7 years to see my opinion shift from and how much of it ended up being like, oh, this is just because I was part of the church growing up is why I think this is right, or this is just because I grew up in this specific environment, which is why I think this is okay. And then I'm like, well, but is it actually right? And it's so fascinating to me, the fact that my like, even now, like some things some people will say, and I'll be like, my instinctive reaction is no, actually don't do that, and then I'll have a thought, and I'll be like, well, no, but actually that's fine. Why is my instinct no? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a interesting growth experience, and I think that was the worst part, is that in my mind I'm like, damn, I've moved so far left of where I started. I'm doing great, and then someone comes in, they're like, but actually, go fuck yourself. And I don't even think it was intended to be a hey, go fuck yourself. Like,
no, probably not. It was just an observation that was made, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was actually while we were talking about a little bit about like corporate. It was actually while we were talking about corporate greed and how I'm like, I just simply would rather corporations not choose to do this thing and make less money. Like that would be great. And it was like, but you're the biggest capitalist I know, so it's wild to see this is the thing you're getting mad about. And I'm like, sure, but also like I can contain multitudes. Damn it, I can have multiple opinions on things. I can care about. It's also a little bit I can care about specific topics and don't have the mental like capacity to care about all topics. You know what I mean?
I very much get that. It's the internet brain rot of making it so that you have to care about every event happening, where like sometimes you just have to sit there and say, frankly, while I know this event outside of America is incredibly important and affects a lot of people, I cannot be that concerned with it right now, because event in America that actually affects me or people I know directly, I cannot be bothered to care about this publicly right now. I'm wishing you luck. This is the best I can do right now. I cannot, there's just brain real estate that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I'm hoping we get over as a culture sooner than later, because God, I'm sick of being like, well, not me, because I actually am a perfect person who cares about all important things, but other people I know, I'm just sick of seeing people get yelled at for not caring enough about something, and it's like, dude, you know what's happening here? It's like, we joke that people in Europe don't have a concept of how big America is, just because our like population density is so low. So like you see how many people live in America versus other countries, and it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I can drive through 17 countries on an afternoon and go on a little like lunch trip.
Yeah, this is definitely not just
2 countries away, and it's like, okay, yeah, but like we have so many issues in our country, and they're so far reaching that none of us can actually like go help anywhere.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things to care and worry about.
And we're all just so tired.
Can I know this is going to end up being a slightly longer episode.
Sure, go for it.
But I want to bring us to a happy point that I was talking about a lot last night.
What you got?
It was my mom's birthday. Everyone say hi, happy birthday, Linda, again. Happy birthday again, yeah, Linda. Wow, you're kind of making a big weird deal out of it, but whatever.
I can't believe your mom's one of those birthday month people.
She's one of those birthday month people. I tell you, she's like, oh, oh, February 23rd, such an important day. We get it. God, you're old. Whatever.
We get it. You
Move
vape.
on. We get it. You vape. Exactly. But one of the things we were talking about is I hate online discourse. So I try
I
to
hate
limit
Discord, too.
my yes, exactly. So I try to limit my interaction with it to a few choice people who I've decided to care about.
Am I one of those people, Noah?
You don't participate in internet discourse.
I didn't want you to answer that anyway. It's actually for the best that you don't.
And also, yes, you would be. You're a friend. I
Damn.
mean, non-friends.
You guys,
I try to limit.
He said the meme. He did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Said, how dare you do this to me? Friendship ended with Dan. But anyway, Dan, there is film Twitter discourse. I'm sure you're aware, at least tangentially, of the cesspool of film Twitter.
Unfortunately, I have been acclimated to a good old-fashioned film Twitter now and again. Yeah, I've seen a film and I have been on Twitter, both of which I regret.
Honestly, an unforgivable sin of yours.
So sad.
But I really enjoy Twitter Guy. Mm-hmm. You know what? In edit, Dan, if you could just Twitter Guy, if you could remove the name I was saying, because I don't want to share my Twitter Guy.
I got you.
With anyone else. I want him to be just for me.
Twitter isn't meant for you. Yeah, I got you. Go off, King.
But one of the things that he does is he cares about cinematography.
Yeah, of
he
course.
cares about shit like that.
As people should.
And something that he really enjoys doing is every single time a new Marvel movie comes out, every single time there's a guy, it's always a different guy. And the guy will say, actually, you guys are expecting a lot saying this movie needs to be perfect.
Yes, correct.
We have to sit through a lot of not good movies to get to the really great ones, is like what it boils down to. And he says, like, one of his favorite things to say is it really never gets old watching these people say, nah, man, this movie's supposed to suck ass.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a terrible, garbage, awful movie.
Correct.
Because eventually it builds up to a good movie. And it's like, or they could all be good movies.
Yeah, quite simply. Just
you don't
make
need
good
to have
movies.
a bad movie to make a movie good.
Correct. It's really funny, actually. I love that.
This conversation led into a gigantic circling discussion at my mom's birthday dinner that was just returning to Lord of the Rings
Okay.
constantly, saying, yeah, I mean, look, all the costumes in the MCU are digital now, and it's really kind of a bummer because when you look back at something like the Lord of the Rings, for example,
yeah,
and we would talk about Lord of the Rings for a second, and then, you know, Jeff is sprinkling in little things like, actually, did you know that when Frodo drops the ring on the mountains when they're trying to cross, that ring was actually like 10 inches across and made out of heavy metal, and it was a gigantic prop that they picked up so that it would have that heft coming out of the snow so it properly would look heavy. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, that actually does sound like a correct thing. I think I've heard that before.
The fact that there's excessive miniature usage.
Yep.
And also what Peter Jackson referred to as bigatures, big versions of little things so that you could get your like angles right and see things properly. All his camera tricks so that Elijah Wood could be in the same room as Ian McKellen and look like a tiny little guy.
He was just a little guy.
By shifting the tables two separate halves as the camera pans.
Yes.
And just
a master cinematographer.
Like,
yeah.
Honestly,
the whole team.
yeah, a jaw-dropping thing to do. Like that team did amazing work on those, and now we're stuck with like even other movies. It's not like only Lord of the Rings does that stuff. There's movies that M. Night Shyamalan, a man who I'm like really mid on.
If you were not mid on him, I'd actually be pretty fucking concerned, to be honest with you.
Well, here's the thing: is I don't think he's like bad. I just don't always care for him, you know. But I hear about his thought process for the movie Old, which is, long story short, it's about a beach that makes you old. It like accelerates your aging. Like every minute is like a week or whatever, you know, like you're aging very fast on this beach.
A classic tale.
And there's a scene where it's a camera is sweeping through. I'm doing hand motions. You can't even see anything.
Nope.
A sweeping shot across the crowd.
Okay.
Where the person's line starts off camera and it ends off camera as it sweeps past them. And he's talking about this like old Italian filmmaker from like the 30s and 40s and something like that, where he's just like, well, a lot of this man's work, you know, he included these sweeping camera movements, and I wanted to try and emulate that while also making sure people saw as the camera moves past them, that's time passing them by. It's not waiting for them to catch up and figure out what's happening. They're being left behind because they're not keeping up. And that's such a cool idea.
Oh.
That's such a cool idea. I don't want to watch the movie, but I think that conceptually that's such a strong idea of what to do. But then, on the flip side, you have the new Spider-Man movie that I very much enjoyed, but it is lit like shit, and it's flat, and it's ugly, and everything cuts too fast, and the only idea that you could convey from that is we wanted to make a movie that just looked so cool.
Which I would argue is you're allowed to just
You can do that. You can do that, but it's a shame that they missed the mark by committing so heavily to CG because Disney tries to avoid utilizing any union people. So your costumes are fake and your CG is used instead of practical effects because it's also ununionized. But you also put people in this massive like crunch at all times. And it's very depressing to see that that's the style of filmmaking that's taking over versus like actually thought out things. And of course, every generation has had fluff popcorn movies. That's fine.
Of course.
You know, we've always had that, but I guess it's just for me, it's the annoyance of listening to people sit here saying this superhero movie is actually peak cinema.
Actually based.
This is a high quality, good cinematography, actually. You don't even know. And it's like the shot with the 3 Spider-Man like appearing up there where the railing is lit better than any of the 3 Spider-Men are. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, this is kind of a bummer, guys. If we're being honest, it's a little bit of a downer. Like, there's just stuff that could be better, and it doesn't need to be better. It's a comic book movie, but people are pretending it's not just a comic book movie. And that's like, there's great movies out there. There's great works out there, and they're being ignored because I don't know. That's been where I've been stuck recently.
Okay. How do I start this? Yes, asterisk. I think that it's a very slippery slope to go from like every movie, including Lord of the Rings, actually has CG, right? We're like in the same way that everyone uses autotune, every movie has really, honestly, anything made in the last 20 something years has heavy CG.
Has some element of CG to it.
Honestly, most of them have really heavy CG, if we're being honest. Even things that you wouldn't expect, like I'm talking every movie. In the same way that almost no audio is recorded, fun fact, almost no audio is actually recorded on set anymore. Like they'll have a boom op and they'll record the audio, but almost any triple or any blockbuster movie that you've ever seen, almost every single line in that movie was re-recorded in post. Every single one.
Yeah. Which not something I have issues with. That makes sense. It's a good quality control method.
Sure.
It also gives Foley artists a job.
Absolutely. We stand the fuck out of Foley artists, by the way. Those guys do some insane fucking work. I think the only real problem I have with the take of I don't like CG in movies is that what I actually think the take is that you don't like bad CG.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like bad CG. CG in movies, when done well, is really great. Even bad CG is okay if you're not pretending it's not bad.
Well, and I think that might also be part of it. Is that like the thing I'm thinking of, because you mentioned Disney, and I'm thinking of things that do really, really, really interesting things with CG. With something like, not to like jump on my Star Wars train, The Mandalorian does some insane shit with CG versus
talking
practicals.
About that last night. Yeah, that gigantic video wall. The gigantic video wall and sync up with the camera. Which is such a neat idea.
But you would make that's a very easy argument to say that is CG. That is 100% just an object.
But that's like good.
Well, that's exactly it. Is that I think that
insane work.
I think that the concern I have with, well, I think the best part of that take is it's a comic book movie. Stop trying to pretend it's not. Basically, right? I actually really enjoy every Spider-Man movie. Full stop. Every single one.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
No, they're fun.
I don't care about Spider-Man 3 is great. Amazing Spider-Man 2, like all the Amazing Spider-Man. It's all, I really love me a good Spider-Man. I think that's a whole other conversation. I would love to talk about that some other time. I think that there is a problem in media of not even necessarily over-relying, but over-relying and allowing, no, it is. It's over-relying on CG. Not relying on CG, just over-relying. Because like even something like Star Wars is actually a really good example. Star Wars' CG is especially like, okay, for its time, always been amazing. Like that's just a fact.
Oh, that was kind of their whole thing.
Yeah.
In fact.
And even in the modern day, like modern Star Wars CG kind of fucks.
Yeah.
It kind of fucks, and it does that because it has to, basically, right? It is what it's on some level designed to do. It is designed to be this jaw-dropping thing, and I think the Marvel movies are kind of in that same. Honestly, actually, bring it back. Let's go. Much like the Mr. Beast thing, it is a whole lot of effort for a subpar product. It is an insane amount of work, an insane amount of money for something,
and an insane amount of people who are defending it, saying things like, this is just what CG looks like, pointing at the ugliest, nasty shit you've ever seen that looks like a Snapchat filter, saying, you're never going to, without years of work, have a good CG anything human-like, because look at Thanos, that was a 10-year project to make him work, and it's like, not really.
no, you
can have better. You just have to like treat your people well. You just have to care. You just have to not worry about your endless churning movies out thing. Putting out 3 Marvel movies a year, too much.
Well, not even necessarily too much, just too much to do with the tiny amount of money they want to use.
What was it? Nina was saying that their current movies look like the TV shows.
That's not wrong.
Quantumania. Nina said the
oh my god,
the CG
MODOK.
in Quantumania,
Whatever his name is. Oh my god.
Like, yeah, MODOK.
Yeah, MODOK.
Like the CG in that looked like one of the TV shows on Disney Plus, and she's like, and to clarify, that is a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's there's articles talking about how they diverted money from Quantumania to make Wakanda Forever better, and it's like, yeah, it shows that there are movies you care about and there's movies that you don't care about. Just don't make the movie then. Or simply wait. Just wait.
Delay.
Slow down.
You're allowed to delay movies. That I think is the other thing, is that like I think it happens with video games too. Like there's a huge conversation here about video games too, that like it is simply the content machine that we have all.
People want things now and they aren't willing to wait, and unfortunately that has led to a massive drop in quality across the board for everything.
Yeah, and there are obviously exceptions. I'm not sitting here. I actually truly don't. I don't actually think that. I would say about half of the Marvel movies are actually just like bad job. Like they've done a bad movie. I think the other half they're fine. They're fine. But that's the thing, is that they're allowed to just be fine, right?
Yeah. And I, honestly, when I say Marvel movies are bad, I'm probably in the same camp where only about half of them are things that I point at and say that's shit.
Yeah.
You know?
And I would argue,
for your Thor 2s.
knowing you and knowing me, I would argue that both of us, when we say that shit, we're really like, that kind of sucks, but it's fine. Like it probably isn't
for the most. There's some things that I'm like, this is actual garbage.
Yeah,
and then the
absolutely.
other stuff, there's like maybe seven of them that I'm like, these are good, and then the rest of them these are fine. And there's so many people who are like, no, this is the thing I've decided to care about. It all is good. And it's like, well,
I also think that
it doesn't need to be.
We've talked about this too before. Is that like you're allowed to like things that are bad. It's actually okay. And I think that is that is a huge, I think, issue, is that when you say something is bad, people don't like, not to be like, oh, I'm so enlightened, but like for a long time in my life, when you said Star Wars bad, I was like, damn, I can't believe you hate this thing I love. And that's not at all necessarily what that says. That just says Star Wars is kind of bad, actually. And yeah, dude, Star Wars is kind of bad, actually. You're right. Star Wars kind of sucks, doesn't it? I love it.
Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying you can't like it.
No.
I'm just sitting here saying some of these are not great.
Some of these kind of poo-poo. And that's okay. You're allowed to think things are garbo. Things are allowed to be garbo, actually. Hottest take possible on the planet. Things are allowed to be bad. And it's actually truly okay when things are just kind of bad or mid or just like, oh, it's fine. It truly is okay.
Yeah, it's just, don't pretend it's more than it is. You know, like you can acknowledge that certain elements of things are fun while also saying, yeah, this is objectively not that great, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
that's my biggest issue with Marvel stuff, is that people are trying to claim that it's like a jaw-dropping presentation of like high quality things. And it's like, it's not.
It's not.
It's good. It's fun.
It's fun. It is fun.
But it's not next level, like,
it's not breaking
game-changing shit.
Yeah, it's not breaking the boundaries. It's not changing the world in any meaningful way. It is simply fine. And it's okay. Again, it's okay for things to be simply fine. Yeah. You have to like kind of not to say to the guys who are like, oh, you have to have a bad movie to know what a good movie looks like, but like, it's okay to have bad movies. It's okay to only have 1 or 2 good movies a year. I think the problem is that like a lot of people, like, what is a good movie is not necessarily what makes the most money.
Yep.
That is kind of the actual problem here, is that like it's not profitable to spend, 3 years on a movie that is actually good. It's profitable to spend 3 years on a movie that will get people, it will get butts in seats.
Mm-hmm.
And this comes back, this is again capitalism is the root of all evil, but like, kinda, dude. Kinda. Yeah, that is what the take is. Capitalism is the problem with film. It's the problem with Mr. Beast. It's the problem with houses. Capitalism kind of blows. And it sucks that has to be like a hot take. It sucks that and it sucks actually, what I actually think it is. I don't even think that that's even a hot take anymore, if I'm being honest.
Oh, it's not. It's just that people have now co-opted it so that it's like you can say it as an aesthetic that you can sell in a capitalist sense.
Correct.
Which is even more depressing.
Yeah.
But I really want to wrap us up and not feel like on a downer note.
No, dude. Here's the thing.
Somehow.
Here's where I would like to end on, right?
Let's hit it.
I think that just because things are bad, just because Mr. Beast is bad, just because whatever is bad, doesn't mean you can't enjoy them, and doesn't mean they can't also be doing good, important things. What actually matters isn't, it is to an extent like the no ethical consumption under capitalism, but like the effects that you can actively see and actively engage with are what actually matter, right? Like, not to bring up JK again, her effects are actively harming people. Even if like I'm not going to talk about the game or anything, but like even it like her as a person is actively
the game irrelevant
in this
it's
moment.
her specifically.
Her specifically is actively harming people, therefore bad. Mr. Beast, yes, there is some harm, but overall I think it is safe to say there is a net positive. Should he have to exist? No. Whatever. Star Wars, is it always good? No. Does it have a net positive? For some people. For me, absolutely. For me, Star Wars is incredibly formative and means a lot to me and does more good than it does harm. Doesn't mean that's for everybody. Doesn't mean it's even necessarily an objective thing. Like, harm and good are very subjective, and it's okay to have disagreements on that. It's also okay to say, damn, dude, I sure do wish things were better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Things can be two things. That's where we're gonna end tonight. Things can be two things.
Hell yeah, they can, brother.
Except for Noah. Noah can only be one thing.
Damn, you know what? That's my fault for saying it that way.
Thank you.